Happy Thanksgiving to all who celebrate. Welcome to Squared Circle Radio live immediately following Monday Night Raw. And a chaotic Raw it was, the go-home edition before the WWE's Thanksgiving Tradition Survivor Series coming up this Saturday. My name is Chris Belcher. Thank you for being with us. Whether you are watching live on YouTube, whether you're listening back on podcast, or whether you're watching back the video, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed to the show on whatever platform that you've chosen, please make sure you do that. Doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us a ton. If you are in the live chat with us like City Kitty is, happy Thanksgiving, she says. Yes, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours as well. If you're live with us, drop those comments, drop those questions, those predictions for Survivor Series. That's what this show is all about. We're going to fantasy book what we would do if we had the pencil and we were booking the outcome of Survivor Series. Again, we're going to preview all of that. So much happening on Monday Night Raw tonight, the John Cena tournament, and some things that we didn't get to last week that we needed to get to. Obviously, huge shout out to Mr. Andy York and special surprise guest Aaron Grisham for popping on the show last week. We had a blast. If you guys missed that episode, go back in our archives, check it out. It is available. We talked obviously last week about Roman Reigns coming back, and again, the John Cena tournament. John Cena, 2 appearances left. We thought we were going to get one tonight. We're going to discuss that as well. A whole lot to get into. Let's quit wasting a bunch of time. Let's get into the way that Monday Night Raw ended. Of course, the men's War Games match. It was mayhem at the end of Monday Night Raw tonight between these 10 individuals that you see on your screen. These star-studded teams. Of course, I'm talking about QB1, the WWE Champion Cody Rhodes, the World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk, the OTC Roman Reigns, Jimmy and Jay, the Usos on one side, and then on the other side, the Vision comprised of Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker, the Maverick, Logan Paul, of course, led by Paul Heyman. Could be one of the most star-studded War Games matches ever in existence. Before I get into the actual match, I want to address some online chatter that is going on. And I feel like this comes up every time there is a gimmick match attached to a pay-per-view, whether that be Elimination Chamber, whether that be Money in the Bank, whether that be Hell in a Cell, fill in the blank, doesn't matter. Every time there is a gimmick attached to a pay-per-view, I'm always going to call it pay-per-view, by the way, people bring this up, and they're like, it's so predictable because we know the pay-per-view's coming up. Well, I can understand Hell in a Cell to an extent. I can understand some of those things to an extent that, yes, some of those things are predictable. But War Games has always been this way. In the WCW days, in the NWA, and the Crockett days, War Games was attached to the Great American Bash, and then it was attached to Fall Brawl. It's always been attached to an event. And it's always been a conglomeration babyface team taking on a heel faction. Always and forever. Look at the WCW ones. This was created by Dusty Rhodes for a match to lock the Horsemen inside a cage with a roof on it so they couldn't go anywhere. And then they transitioned that to the NWO in the mid-90s, late 90s. That's what this match is made for. So yes, this might be a hodgepodge babyface team. It's a hodgepodge babyface team on the other side. It's a hodgepodge heel team. I'm talking about the women. I apologize. I'll get to that in a second. But this not only continues the tradition of War Games, it continues the Survivor Series tradition, 5-on-5. So you get the best of both worlds. So while it may be attached to a pay-per-view, I think War Games is the exception to the gimmick match that is predictable. Now, a lot of people online might disagree with me, but you can't just do war games at a random pay-per-view. For example, this Sunday, it's Backlash featuring war games. It just doesn't make any sense. You just can't do that. You just Clash in Paris featuring war games. No, it's married to an event, and that's the way that it should be. You can't just up and do war games. You just can't. So it's my little rant about the online chatter going on with this gimmick match. Either way, big night tonight on Monday Night Raw. The OTC Roman Reigns kicking off Monday Night Raw in a huge way. Gets interrupted immediately by Cody Rhodes and then CM Punk. And they're sort of arguing about whose team this is and this, that, and the other. And Roman Reigns ends the opening segment by saying that title would look good on my shoulder. And Punk says, which one? And Roman by that time is already out of the ring, and he speaks to the floor camera and he says, I guess that's for y'all to figure out. Good stuff. I talked about this last week, how I think that this match leads to Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. And it's a huge decision for him, whether he would face Cody Rhodes or CM Punk at WrestleMania. So I think that is huge. So let's see where this goes. Nonetheless, Monday Night Raw tonight closed up with the advantage match. It was the Usos against not Brock Lesnar, against Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul. Logan Paul gets the sneaky win for the heels. Not what I saw coming. I thought the baby faces might get a win here so that Brock Lesnar could be the last man in the cage, but seems like it'll probably be Roman Reigns as the last man in the cage. That's fine. But that happens, and then chaos ensues. Everybody breaks off and brawls. I want to take you back to one thing last week, though, when we saw this face-to-face between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. There's a lot of wrestling fans who believe that Brock Lesnar doesn't put people over, or Brock Lesnar won't do business, or what have you. Brock Lesnar sold the Superman punch last week from Roman Reigns like $1 million. It was one Superman punch. Brock flipped over, rolled out of the ring. One shot took him down. When was the last time you saw Brock Lesnar get taken down by one shot? Roman Reigns did it last week. So that shows you how much that Brock Lesnar respects Roman Reigns. Last week, obviously, we focused a whole lot on Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns because those were the big returns at Madison Square Garden. So I want to look at some other guys here. Cody Rhodes, many people, including Bully Ray on Busted Open, saying that his promo on Friday Night SmackDown on top of the announce table was the best of his career, talking about how it's his birthright, not only to be in the War Games, but to win the War Games. For all the people that Paul Heyman is stacking up against him for Cody to just knock him down, how Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed won't ever learn their place until they're flat on their back, and that he's already beat Brock Lesnar. Just all these things. Just a fantastic promo from Cody to get us all riled up. And then you have the Usos, who tonight, after the Cody, Punk, and Roman situation, they come in all hyped. They're the best team in the world, whatever. Is it just me? But it seems like they've forgotten this Usos story where there was tension between them, that Roman was sort of causing a divide in between them, and that Jay was acting like they were calling him Little Roman and all this. Did we just drop that? I thought we were going somewhere with that. Did we drop that? We'll see. We might be able to pick that up with one of the scenarios that I've got laid out here for how this War Games match may end. So let's look at some possible scenarios, because I truly think this match can go either way. And in those results, there's a lot of different directions that we could go with this. So let's look at the heels winning the match. I just mentioned Jey Uso. I think it would be huge if Jey Uso got pinned in this match. Because then, if Jey Uso gets pinned, Roman Reigns is disappointed. Because Roman told him when he came back, Jey, who's kicking off top of the hour? Who's the world champion? You better go after him. You better take that spot. Well, if Jey gets pinned, no matter who pins him, I mean, how does Roman feel about that? How does Roman take that? What if Jimmy gets pinned? Then there's more disappointment in the bloodline because Roman seemingly has chosen Jey, and they've both seemingly left Jimmy out to dry. Now, again, I just mentioned that it seems like on TV we've already dropped that storyline, but it's an easy way to bring it back up. It's like, Jimmy, you didn't hold up. You're getting left out. So I think either Uso could get pinned in that situation. What if the heels win the match? And what if the world heavyweight champion gets pinned in this match? What happens if CM Punk gets pinned in this match? I would say that whoever pins CM Punk would be right in line for a world championship match. And you got to think that that's probably Braun Breaker out of these guys. Could be Drew McIntyre, I guess. But I think it's either Braun Breaker or Brock Lesnar. Because I think out of this War Games match, one of these two guys will be the next challenger for CM Punk. I think they have to. So those are the scenarios if the heels were to win. What about the baby faces? I mean, easily you look at the three guys that I just mentioned, Cody, Punk, and Roman. It's very plausible that any of them gets the pin in this match. And I think Andy mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. The heels losing, you can build tension between Brock Lesnar and Braun Breaker. If that's the case, I think either way you slice this, I think Logan Paul is probably getting pinned in this match, especially if they're trying to save Cody and Drew for somewhere down the line. Brock Lesnar's not getting pinned unless it's Roman Reigns doing the pinning. I think Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, they're on their way up. So I don't think you pin them in this situation. So I think Logan Paul is literally in there to eat the pin. And listen, there's 5 baby faces on the other side. I think Logan Paul is a smart enough man that he'll take the L and he'll be okay. So doesn't matter which baby face gets the, I don't know that it, obviously Roman winning can solidify his case for the Royal Rumble for a championship match. Obviously, you're not going to go wrong if CM Punk or Cody Rhodes, your 2 champions, get a win because you have those guys on top. Jey Uso, if you're serious about trying to further this story with Roman, gets a huge win. I don't think there's any way that Jimmy wins, but the other 4 guys, I could see it. If someone were to pin Brock Lesnar, I mentioned Roman Reigns is probably the only one. Cody's already beat him twice, so he's probably not going to. And I don't think Punk will because Punk is probably going to face Brock for the championship. But if someone does, Sam Roberts brought up a great point on his podcast that even though that person maybe didn't face John Cena on his way out, that person can get the rub of beating Cena by beating this version of Brock because Brock squashed Cena at WrestlePalooza. Now, when Sam was talking about this, he was alluding to a younger guy, maybe a Carmelo Hayes or a Gunther or a Braun Breaker or whatever. Same could apply for Roman Reigns. Not that Roman Reigns needs that rub, but it would be good. All that to say, if I had the pencil and I was booking the men's War Games match at Survivor Series, the heels get this one done. I think the Vision team gets the win. I think this is easy. I think Brock Lesnar pins Jey Uso to drive a wedge to get that storyline back going between Roman, Jimmy, and Jey. And I think Brock Lesnar gets a shot at CM Punk at the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, mind you. So, got to have a big time name like Brock Lesnar in there to face CM Punk, legends, quote unquote. So, that's my pick. I think the Beast, Brock Lesnar, gets the pin in his first and only War Games match. And he ends up facing CM Punk down the road. All right. So we've talked the men's War Games match. Let's move on to the women, shall we? Because the women's War Games match, that babyface squad led by the returning AJ Lee. The captain of the team is probably Rhea Ripley, her friend Io Sky, and then the best friends, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, taking on the heels led by Becky Lynch, Asuka and Kairi Sane, the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax, and newcomer Lash Legend. Now, we have talked quite extensively about stars on the other side for the men. I mean, you've got arguably the most star-studded field for a men's War Games match you've ever seen. But just take a look at this team. The shots from Monday Night Raw tonight. Look at these 10 women in this match, because one could argue that this is the most loaded women's War Games match that we have ever had. Multi-time world champions in Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and AJ Lee on one side. Kairi Sane has never held world championship gold. Lash Legend obviously is a newcomer. The other three there have held world championships. So, I mean, my goodness, this is a loaded one as well. Let's talk about, again, we talked a lot about AJ Lee and Becky Lynch last week and how, I mean, it's possible that you can get to WrestleMania. That's gonna be a huge stretch. That's a 5-month stretch. If Royal Rumble is 2 nights in Saudi Arabia, in theory, you could have this match at the Royal Rumble. But as I mentioned last week, it's going to be really hard to have a match not for a championship at Royal Rumble. But with it being 2 nights, we'll have to see. I don't know. But that means that it's probably on the opposite night of the women's Royal Rumble match. So you're going to have Becky and AJ competing in both, I would assume. Who knows, though? I don't know. But the interesting thing to me with Becky is Becky and Charlotte in this War Games match. We're finally going to get Becky and Charlotte again, which most people don't want to see again, but the crowd's going to go nuts when those two go face to face. In fact, if I was booking this War Games match, I would start the night with Becky versus Charlotte. That 5-minute period before anybody else comes in, just let them go at it. That would be a lot of fun. What a callback that would be. Better yet, we haven't seen AJ Lee in a singles match yet. Have her mix it up with Asuka for 5 minutes. That'd be fun. Either way, this is going to be really, really good. But speaking of Charlotte Flair, it's really fun to look at what has happened with Charlotte over the last, what's it been? 4 or 5 months, maybe, with Alexa Bliss, because Charlotte Flair comes back from her ACL injury, wins the Royal Rumble. She's supposed to be a babyface, supposed to have this sob story of, oh, I got hurt thought my career was over. I didn't think I was ever coming back. And nobody's buying it because it's Charlotte. She immediately comes back and she's booked in the championship picture. So nobody wants anything to do with it. So she gets booed. And Tiffany Stratton gets cheered even more at WrestleMania. And Charlotte goes public saying that she doesn't understand why she's getting booed. Well, WWE makes one of the smartest booking decisions they've made in a long time, pairing her up with arguably the most popular women's wrestler on the roster, and that's Alexa Bliss. And ever since she came back at the Rumble, she can do no wrong. So they put Charlotte with her. And wouldn't you know it, the combination works. Charlotte's a babyface again. People are cheering Charlotte when she comes out. Now, maybe that's because they know Alexa is right behind her. I don't know. But people are cheering Charlotte when she comes out. So kudos to WWE for having the smarts to put those two together. But I think the most kudos of all should go to Alexa Bliss. I mean, she does not get the credit that she deserves for the work she has put in to help put Charlotte over. I mean, think about this. Last week on SmackDown, or 2 weeks ago on SmackDown, whenever Charlotte backed out of War Games, people booed. They wanted her in the match. And then when she showed up last week on Raw, she got a big pop. And you got to hand it to Alexa Bliss for the part that she has played in getting Charlotte over. Doesn't get the credit that she deserves. So when you're looking at scenarios as to how this match should end, you have to wonder where you're going to go out of this, because that's the big question with the men's match. Where are you going to go out of this? Lots of people online are speculating that either Charlotte or Alexa will turn on the other in this match. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Clearly, AJ and Becky need their one-on-one match. Who knows when we'll get there? But what other stories do you have? I mean, there's that looming story of Rhea Ripley has never beaten Io Sky and now they're best friends. I don't think you can turn Rhea heel. Do you turn Io? I mean, I wanted Io to turn heel and go with the Kabuki Warriors a long time ago, but maybe that's in the rear view. Maybe it's Io versus Asuka. They still got those tag team titles, so maybe it's Rhea and Io going after the tag titles. I think that either way, I think you're just in a weird spot for Rhea Ripley. Like, is she going to go after babyface Stephanie Vaquer, which we'll talk about here in just a second, for the world championship? She's going to do that? I don't know. I just don't know what I think. Andy said it last week that Cody seems to be the odd man out in the men's War Games match. I think Rhea is the odd woman out in the women's because she just doesn't have a lot of direction right now. I don't know why. I'm not sure why. I think she's almost like Cody Rhodes without the championship. It's like, it just seems weird how you're booking her without the championship. So I think Lash Legend gets a big spotlight in this match. I think there's a big reason she was inserted into this match. And I think this is to help make her big time. So I look for her to get a big rub in this match. So who wins? How would you book it, Chris? Well, if I had the pencil, I would book, of course, the baby faces to win. Does AJ beat Becky? I don't know. Does Rhea beat Becky? I don't know. It seems like Becky might eat the pin here. Kairi Sane would be an easy one to eat the pin as well. But I think the baby faces win here. I think you could see that we're getting AJ versus Becky out of this, win or lose. So maybe Rhea picks up the win here to give her some direction. Maybe Rhea pins Asuka. I don't know. If I were booking it, I would say that Rhea Ripley pins Kairi Sane to win this match. I think that's how I would book it. All right. It'll be interesting no matter which way it goes. All right, if you're live in the chat with us, thank you so much for being here. Drop those comments, questions, predictions, the whole 9 yards. The show is for the fans, by the fans. Still got 2 more matches to go in previewing Survivor Series, but I want to hear from you guys. I want to talk about what you want to hear about. So before we get to those other 2 matches, let's take a little pause for the cause and hear from our presenting sponsor, our ride or die partner here on Squared Circle Radio. I'm talking about the Reverend Tom Bryce at Sports Wire Radio. Check them out.
Looking for all the latest happenings in the world of sports and wrestling? Well, you're in luck because Sports Wire Radio has you covered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. With great shows in the world of sports, such as the Pinstripe Chronicles, hosted by Uncle Tats, Donald Stewart, and Rob Barrows. New York Baseball Talk with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska. The Liftoff Jets, also hosted by Chris Bazaya and Sharman Phillip. Neil Villapiano and the Devil's State of Mind. Randy Dillon's Hockey Fan Chat. In the world of wrestling, Sports Wire Radio has you covered with Squared Circle Radio, featuring Chris Belcher, Andy York, and Jared Justice. Those sit-down marks with DB, Primo, AJ, and Michael. A work in progress, featuring the Mayor of Canton, Piles, and Glenn Abbott. You can catch all of these great shows and more anytime, anywhere, and any place via the Listen Live button on sportswireradio.org, and you can also catch Sports Wire Radio anytime on YouTube at Sports Wire Radio 6579 to catch all the latest happenings in the world of wrestling. Sports Wire Radio has you covered. It's all sports matters and all wrestling matters here on Sports Wire Radio. I am your host, the owner of Sports Wire Radio, the #1 global radio station, the owner of the Promo Wrestling Federation, and one of the owners of the Pride Wrestling Federation. Your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters, the Reverend Tom Bryce.
Thank you, Tom Bryce. Thank you, Sports Wire Radio, the whole crew over there. We appreciate your love and support. If you're listening on Sports Wire Radio, you just heard that lineup of incredible talent and incredible shows. So keep it locked in right here following our show. I know they would appreciate that. All right. This is Squared Circle Radio live, though, on our YouTube channel. If you're live with us, drop those comments and questions in the chat. If you're watching the replay, you can still drop comments. I'll respond to each and every one of those. If you're listening on podcast, #1, hit that follow button on whatever platform that you're on. Then hop over to the YouTube channel. Join us for the live show. We would appreciate that so very much. We're live right here every Monday after Raw, after most PLEs. Survivor Series is still up in the air. TBD on that. It is Thanksgiving weekend. I'll be traveling and I'll be with family, not in my normal space. So TBD on a live show. Keep it locked into the socials at Chris Belcher 24 at SQ Circle _radio. We'll let you know what is happening. All right. Tell you what else is happening at Survivor Series. And this is the popcorn spot. I hate to say it, and I feel really bad. Stephanie Vaquer defends her Women's World Championship against Nikki Bella. And, you know, I think this is a fine match. I do. But I don't think that it's a fine match for Survivor Series. After all, Survivor Series is one of the big 4 pay-per-views. Now, I know it's big 5 because of Money in the Bank and whatever. Survivor Series was the second ever pay-per-view created in the WWF. That's right. Before Royal Rumble and before SummerSlam, there was Survivor Series. So, I'm not saying this match between Stephanie and Nikki is not worthy of this pay-per-view, because it is a good match. I just don't know that I would put it on such a big pay-per-view card that only has 4 matches. Like, look at the matches. I just went through the 2 War Games matches. And I'm about to talk about John Cena's second to last match. So if people are going to get popcorn, if people are going to the bathroom, which match do you think they're going in? I just think it's a bad spot for them. I really do. I don't think Nikki Bella is in the point of her career where she's going to attract enough of an audience for this match to benefit Stephanie Vaquer. I just don't. Put this on a Raw. Have it main event Raw. That would be fine. Put this on, I would say Saturday night's main event, but we know that's a John Cena show coming up. I just don't like it on this card. That being said, it's going to be a fine match. I think it'll be fine. I don't like it on this card. I don't. Also, just don't see a scenario in which Nikki Bella can be world champion. Like, I like to, in this fantasy booking world of giving predictions, I could not sit here and come up with a scenario for Nikki Bella to be women's world champion. Like, obviously that story is there of the legend wanting to come back and win the title and whatever. And that's fine. I just can't see a scenario in which, because you always want to look when you're fantasy booking something or when you're booking the match, you want to say, the question is, and then what? So the result is shocking, but and then what? So if Nikki Bella wins the championship, and then what? I don't know. City Kitty still live with us in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. Stephanie deserves a better opponent, in my opinion, she says. Yes, she does. Who that opponent is, I don't know. I don't know. It's not Raquel, because we saw Raquel Rodriguez complaining to Adam Pearce tonight about wanting the championship match because Nikki interrupted it and then Nikki gets a match. So it's not her. I think Roxanne Perez would be really good. I think they're trying to protect Roxanne a little bit, maybe for returning Liv Morgan here soon. I don't know. But I think Roxanne Perez would be really good to face Stephanie Vaquer for the championship. I think Asuka would be really good to face Stephanie Vaquer. I mean, I know she's tied up in War Games, but yeah, I think there are certainly better opponents for Stephanie Vaquer. Again, Nikki Bella would be fine, just not in this situation. So if I'm booking this like Stephanie Vaquer wins, just going away. Stephanie wins it for sure. All right. Let's talk about John Cena defending his Intercontinental Championship against Dominic Mysterio. And as we do that, swing a Mountain Dew for the working man. So if you're watching the replay of this, just ignore it. Just ignore it. All right. John Cena, Dominic Mysterio, the rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. And just like I don't like the spot for Stephanie Vaquer versus Nikki Bella, I don't like this spot either. I don't think this does. I don't want to say it doesn't do any good for Dominic Mysterio, because obviously getting to pin John Cena in your hometown on a big stage is big, but I just don't think this match should be happening. Like, John Cena won the Intercontinental Championship in Boston from Dominic Mysterio, and it seemed like it was a done deal. Like, it was a very, Chris Van Vliet said it on his podcast, it was a very beginning, a middle, and end to the story. Cena comes out, that's the beginning. The middle is Dom interrupts. The end is Cena beats Dom for the Intercontinental Championship. So that could be the end. It could be the end, but no. WWE feels the need to have this match again, I guess. And again, I know it's going to be in Dom's hometown, and I know that Dom is going to get put over. Like I said, it's going to be fine. They're going to have a really good match. They had a great match on Monday Night Raw. So it's going to be fine. I just think Dom can move on to bigger and better things. I don't think Dom needs the Intercontinental Championship. Dom is clearly bigger than the Intercontinental Championship at this point. And Dom bringing out little Cena tonight, that was absolutely hilarious, by the way. That was just had Triple H and Bruce Pritchard written all over it with the little bitty Cena coming out and the little bitty Stu and all that. That was fantastic. It was so good. So my prediction here is Dominic Mysterio. I think Cena should have just carried the championship to his final match and dropped it in the tournament to whoever that's going to be against. But not now. Not now. They're not going to book this rematch and have Dominic lose again to John Cena. City Kitty in the chat. Are we getting Dom and Ray at some point? I sure hope so. But Andy and I think have said this for a long time. I think it's going to be for that AAA Mega Championship and not the Intercontinental Championship, because that's a title that Ray has never won. And you talk about WWE really putting the AAA brand on the map. I know that they just ran a scenario where Dominic and El Grande Americano are going to face the Lucha Brothers at some point, pending Penta's injury from tonight. But I think Dom versus Ray happens at a AAA show. I do. Although WWE fans want to see it, but I think it's going to be better in the AAA scenario. All right, let's talk about the John Cena tournament, and then we will get out of here. Appreciate you guys being with us. Let's show this bracket that was shown on Friday Night SmackDown. Of course, those quarterfinal matchups have happened, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about spoilers from SmackDown, but I will spoil what happened in the tournament. Sheamus got injured and was replaced by The Miz, which I like The Miz, but you just threw him in there to lose to LA Knight. So LA Knight's going to advance to the semifinals. LA Knight faces another surprise, and The Miz loses again. If you're just going to put Miz in there to lose, let somebody else have a shot to be in the John Cena tournament. Why let Miz do it again? It doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't have done that's dumb. I like The Miz, but having him come in there and lose again is dumb. So LA Knight's going to advance, and tonight Gunther advanced in a fantastic match over Carmelo Hayes. I mentioned Penta's injury earlier. His match got cut short with Solo because of an injury, landed on his shoulder weird. So Solo advances. I think that was probably the plan all along. But then again, Solo versus Gunther is weird. But I think they're trying to push Solo, hint, as to what is going to happen this Friday. Again, I'm not going to reveal spoilers, but go watch what happens this Friday. So I think they're trying to push Solo back up and make him and the MFTs a little more important. So I think it's fine that he got the win. He's going to end up losing to Gunther unless they can find a way out of it. I doubt it, but we'll see. So 3 of our semifinalists. I'm not going to reveal the fourth one. It did happen on SmackDown, but LA Knight, Gunther, and Solo Sikoa. One of those 3 with one more will face John Cena coming up in his final match, Saturday night's main event. Okay. Before I get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us. We're going to run through our Survivor Series predictions one more time so that you know what we are rolling with this coming Saturday. Survivor Series War Games coming up. Here's what we think. The men's War Games match, I think the heels get the win. Brock Lesnar pins Jey Uso, and he's on his way to face CM Punk at the Royal Rumble. In the women's War Games match, I think the babyfaces get the win. I think Rhea Ripley gets the pin on either Asuka or Kairi Sane to give her something to build on. For the Intercontinental Championship, Dirty Dominic Mysterio regains his championship over John Cena in his second to last match. And then for the Women's World Championship, Stephanie Vaquer in a landslide over Nikki Bella. All right. I appreciate you guys being tuned in live with us. Thanks so much. There is so much going on in the world of wrestling. We just don't have time to get to it all. But we appreciate you guys so much for being here. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video, that helps the algorithm, all those kinds of things. My name is Chris Belcher. This has been another edition of Squared Circle Radio Live. We will catch you guys down the road.